When you picture a farm, you probably think of a tractor, maybe a pitchfork, right? Well, that picture is getting a massive high-tech upgrade. We're talking about a revolution driven by data, by drones, by AI. So let's get into it. So here's the big question, the one that keeps experts up at night. We're on track to have 10 billion people on this planet by 2050. How in the world are we gonna feed everyone? It's pretty clear that the way we've been doing things just isn't gonna cut it anymore. And look, this isn't some far-off future problem. It's happening right now. 690 million. That's how many people are facing hunger today. I mean, that's almost 1 out of every 11 people on Earth. That number, that's why this is so urgent. We need smarter, better ways to grow food, and we need them now. Yeah, when you start digging into the details, it really looks like a perfect storm. First off, the amount of farmable land we have per person, it's dropped by almost half since the late 60s. At the same time, fewer and fewer people are going into farming. And on top of all that, a huge chunk of our farmland is at risk from pesticide pollution. So it's not just one thing, it's this tangled mess of problems that requires a really, really clever solution. All right, so here's our game plan. We'll start with the food challenge, then jump into the agri-tech revolution. After that, we'll peek inside a smart farm, meet some of the innovators, and wrap up by looking at the challenges and what's next. So, you've got less land, fewer workers. What do? Well, the answer isn't about just working harder, it's about working a whole lot smarter. And that brings us to the agri-tech revolution. This is where farming and technology come together to create a totally new kind of harvest. So, what even is smart agriculture? Think of it like this. It's all about using tech. We're talking AI, IoT, drones, the whole shebang to make farming super efficient and sustainable. It's about giving every single plant exactly what it needs, right when it needs it. No more guesswork. It's all about data. And just so we're clear, this is not some small niche idea. We're talking big money. The agri-tech market is expected to hit almost $49 billion by 2030. When you see numbers like that, it tells you one thing. This is where the smart money is going. This is the future. The pace of this change is just wow. The number of companies in this space has literally doubled in just the last 10 years. Doubled. That's a massive explosion of new ideas, new talent, and new investment, all focused on solving this huge food problem. Okay, so we've talked about the big picture, but what does this stuff actually look like on a real farm? Let's go inside the smart farm and check out the new toolkit farmers are working with. First up, drones. These things are basically the farmer's new eyes in the sky. They've gone from being kind of a cool toy to an absolutely essential tool. They give farmers this incredible bird's eye view of everything happening on their land, with a kind of detail you just couldn't get before. And these drones are amazing multitaskers. They can do everything from checking on crop health and spotting pests early to seeing exactly where an irrigation pipe might be leaking. And this is where it gets really cool. It's precision farming in action. Instead of, spraying an entire field with fertilizer, a drone can just target the one small patch that actually needs it. That saves money, saves resources, and it's way better for the environment. Okay, so if drones are the eyes, then the Internet of Things, or IoT, is the farm's nervous system. I love that analogy. It's basically a whole network of little sensors scattered all over the fields, constantly monitoring everything, then sending all that info back to a central brain. And here's how it works. It's actually pretty straightforward. You've got sensors in the soil checking things like moisture levels and temperature. That data gets zapped up to a central platform. An AI chews on all that data and looks for patterns. And then, this is the magic part, if it sees a spot is getting too dry, it can automatically turn on the sprinklers for just that one area. It's this constant, smart feedback loop happening 24/7. And then, of course, there are the robots. We're seeing everything from these incredibly gentle robotic arms that can pick a perfect strawberry without bruising it, to self-driving rovers that haul crops around the farm. All this automation is taking over the back-breaking, repetitive jobs, which lets the actual farmers focus on the bigger picture. So who's leading the pack on this stuff? Well, a ton of the research on farm bots is coming out of Europe right now. But Australia and North America are major players too. It's really a global race to figure out the future of automated farming. Okay, the tech is cool, but who's actually making it? Let's shift gears and meet some of the startups on the ground floor, the ones turning these ideas into reality for farmers all over the world. Now, this is just a quick snapshot, but it really shows you how global this is. You've got DroneCube in Poland, making these awesome autonomous stations for drones. Over in the Philippines, FarmTree is all about deep data analytics. Then you have BioArmix in Israel using good bacteria to fight the bad stuff. And in Ghana, Feathery Care is using AI to help out poultry farmers. I mean, innovation is popping up everywhere. All right, but let's get real for a second. As amazing as all this sounds, it's not like we can just flip a switch and every farm becomes a smart farm tomorrow. There are some major bumps in the road we have to talk about. And this slide really breaks it down. Think about traditional farming. It's built on knowledge passed down through generations, and you don't need a ton of cash to get started. Smart farming, though, it's the opposite. It demands a huge upfront investment. You need to be tech savvy, and it's totally dependent on things like good internet and reliable power, which, let's be honest, are not a given everywhere, especially in rural areas. And this tells a big story. Look at this. For all the hype about farm robots, a whopping 80% of them are still just in the research phase. Only about 6% are actually commercialized and for sale. So we're still a long way from these things being a common sight on most farms. There's a big gap between the idea and the reality. But at the end of the day, I think the real promise here isn't about technology replacing nature. Not at all. It's about using technology to help us understand nature better, to work with it, not against it. It's about building a partnership that's actually sustainable and can feed us all for a long, long time. So that brings us to the final and maybe the most important question. The technology is incredible, right? It could genuinely help us solve one of the biggest challenges humanity has ever faced. But how do we make sure this high-tech revolution doesn't leave small farmers behind? How do we avoid creating a world with two kinds of farming, one for the super rich and tech-savvy, and another for everyone else? That's the real puzzle we have to solve.